The X-Zone radio and TV show is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Rob McConnell's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the X-Zone radio and TV show or in any manner endorsed by Rob McConnell, Relmar McConnell Media Company, Talkstar Radio Network, its affiliated stations, or employees.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
I should have known you bid me farewell. There's a lesson to be learned from this, and I learned it very well. Now I know you're not the only starfish in the sea. If I never hear your name again, it's all the same to me. And I think it's gonna be alright. Yeah, the worst is over now. The morning sun is shining like a red rubber ball. You never care for secrets I confide. For you I'm just an ornament.
And welcome back to the X Zone, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Worldwide toll-free, 1-800-610-7035. Email xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On MSN Messenger, xzoneradiotv@hotmail.com. And our website, www.xzoneradiotv.com. On Facebook, facebook.com/xzoneradiotv. And on Twitter, twitter.com/xzoneradiotv. My guest this hour is Debbie Mancini-Wilson, and she is the family creativity expert for NBC and CBS morning shows, best-selling author of Color My World. She's an award-winning poet, contributing magazine writer for both online and in print. She's a radio personality, speaker, coach, workshop creator, and leader. And she's on the advisory board of Ziggity Zoom, which is the best, which is a kids site, and it's the best kids site website winner. And most importantly of all, she is a wife and a mom. Now, if you've seen her on television, heard her on the radio, participated in one of her interactive workshops, or have been motivated by her books and articles, you know that Debbie's ardent mission is to help children and adults tap into their imagination and nurture creative self-expression. Now, these abilities help us to enhance our individual authenticity and ultimately live happier by living true to ourselves and our life purposes. Now, once we cultivate our ingenuity, Debbie says, just about everything becomes easier. Now, you don't want to be one of those people who wakes up each and every day and makes a conscious decision to grasp with both hands the tools to make great things happen, don't you? You want to be out there. You want to make things happen. You don't want to be one of those ho-hum people. I know I don't. Joining me now is our guest this hour, Debbie Mancini-Wilson. And Debbie, welcome to the X Zone.
Thank you so much, Rob. Pleasure to be here.
Your book, Color My World, hit the bestseller list within 18 months. Now, why do you think it's so popular?
Well, that's a good question because I wasn't sure it would be so popular because I wrote the book out of a necessity of my own when my sons reached 3rd, 4th, 5th grade. Mm-hmm. And as I say, the macaroni art stopped coming home. They were under just an enormous amount of pressure to do well on test scores, standardized testing. It was just a huge thing. So I noticed that the schools were not nurturing the right brain any longer. And as a right-brainer, that kind of put me into panic mode because my kids shouldn't be stressed out at little tiny ages. So I just started working with them at home, and that became the book. And when the book hit the bestseller list, I learned that I wasn't the only person in the world who recognized the need for nurturing creativity and innovation in little minds and big minds. So it grew legs of its own. And as you said, within
Mm-hmm.
18 months, it hit the bestseller list. So I'm thrilled and honored.
Well, congratulations on that, Debbie.
Thank you.
You and I are going to be discussing coloring your world, Exonation, and coloring my world. And that's what we're going to be talking about this hour with Debbie Mancini-Wilson about is her book, Color My World. www.colormyworld.info is her website, and that's COLOR myworld.info, www.colormyworld.info. And Debbie and I will be back on the other side of this commercial break in 2 minutes as the X Zone continues from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Once again, X Zone Nation, the X Chronicles newspaper, the best of the past 38 issues. Well, let's see. No, it's the best 38 issues from this month, going back until February of 1993. Thank you, Craig. We've got 38 issues there with the compliments of our great family of advertisers at www.xchronicles-newspaper.com. That's xchronicles-newspaper.com. And I'll be back on the other side of this 2-minute commercial break here in the X Zone from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada on Talkstar.
I've been cheated, been mistreated. When will I be loved? I've been pushed down, I've been pushed round. When will I be loved? When I find a new man that I want for mine, always breaks my heart in two. It happens every time. I've been made blue, I've been lied to. When will I be loved?
And welcome back, everyone. Debbie Mancini-Wilson is our guest, and we're talking about her new book, Color My World. It's called Color My World. Her website is colormyworld.info, and color is C-O-L-O-R. And people are probably saying, why are you spelling color? Well, it's very simple. North of the 49th, it's C-O-L-O-U-R, and south of the 49th, it's C-O-L-O-R. So I'm just making sure that both Canada and the United States know exactly which website to go to. That's C-O-L-O-R, myworld.info. Who are your biggest proponents, Debbie?
Well, I can tell you, aside from the little people that love the book, my biggest proponents are parents, teachers, and psychologists. And the main reasons for that are, of course, the book's main purpose is to nurture creativity in children. But for parents, the book gives them the ability, it gives them the tools, the keys, if you will, to unlock their kids' head and heart. We all need to know what our kids are thinking. And the age range for this book, my anchor book that's out there, is 7 to 12. Those are what we call the tweeners. They're not quite little kids, but they're not teenagers yet. So that's when they start feeling their independence, but they don't have the experience behind it to be able to make the good decisions. And they're like steel traps. They clam up. So for parents to get their kids talking, Color My World's a great way to do that because it gives them the ability to express themselves creatively, and that gives parents a great glimpse at what's in their heads and hearts.
You know, as you alluded to earlier, that there's a lot of pressure on kids these days. The pressure wasn't there when I was going to school. You know, we loved going to school.
Yeah.
And I've said this before, Deb, this certainly wasn't in the age of all these electronic gadgets that kids have today. And there was a standardized school uniform, and you called the teachers by Mr. or Mrs. or Miss. It was never a first-name basis. And there seemed to be a lot more discipline. And I think discipline is what is sadly missing in today's educational system.
I agree. And the sad part of all of that, and we could get off on a tangent for that for about 3 hours, but, you know, in a nutshell, everybody is too afraid to do what they know needs to be done. And so everybody's following the rules and guidelines that they have to follow. And that brings me to teachers, who are my next biggest proponents. They know what needs to be done, but they're hearing from administration what they want them to do. And the majority of them are wanting them to just focus on test scores, because that's where federal funding comes in for a lot of the school systems. And so teachers know what needs to be done. They know what they want to do,
Right.
but they also know what they have to do. And so it's easier for children to be pigeonholed instead of taught on an individual basis.
Yeah.
So if your child stands out a little bit, they are unruly, or they have ADD because they're just not getting it the way the rest of the class is. And so instead of focusing on what might help that child learn better, they scooch them over into a special needs class or put them on medication or whatever. We're all individual, and we don't all learn the same. But the school systems are really set up for, I think, setting more kids up for failure than success. Myself, I'm a successful businesswoman, but if the school systems were set up the way they are today, back when I was a child in the dark ages, I would be shaking a tin cup on Fifth Avenue for spare change. I don't test well. I would never have been as successful as I am. That would have set me up for failure.
I agree with you, and it's hard because I watch the kids today in school. Like, we've got 6 children, and we have 6 grandchildren, and the grandchildren are having one heck of a time. You know, there's the peer pressure, there's the social pressure, there's the pressure of trying to fit in.
Exactly.
And I don't know how the kids today are doing it. And then people say, well, how come our failure rate is so high? Well, like you said, the kids are in a situation that is, their destiny is to fail.
Well, you're right. And, the pressure doesn't just end at the school school time. It's carried over into what is supposed to be recreational time. I mean, I don't know about you, but we used to play pickup ball games in the streets.
Oh,
and
gosh, yeah.
We'd go to the local field and play. Today, even the fields are managed. The kids' time frames are managed. Everything they do, every little bit of playtime is scheduled. The first time somebody said they wanted to set up a play date with my kid, I thought, just come knock on my door, would ya? I mean,
exactly.
It's too structured in some ways, and not, as you were talking about before, not structured in the ways for respect.
Yeah.
So it's a tough thing, but that means we've got to, and this is what caused me to start writing the little exercises and putting them together in the book that became Color My World, is I'm not a fighter. By nature, I'm a fixer. So when I noticed what was going on and that my kids were under stress, I can't tell you how many times I said to them when they came home, honey, you shouldn't be worried about that. The biggest problem on your plate right now should be what toy to pick up and play with next. You're in 4th grade. I mean, my goodness, So I really wanted to fix this problem instead of trying to fight City Hall. So I started just doing these things at home. And so now the beauty of writing the book and publishing the book is that I'm giving the opportunity to parents around the world to do the same thing. And the feedback that I'm getting is phenomenal, because it is multifaceted, not just are you giving your children a way to express themselves and tap into that creativity that's not being nurtured at school, but again, the parents are getting to know what's inside their kids' head and heart. And then there's a third element that was just a bonus, and that is that parents are doing the exercises together with their kids. So talk about building quality time today and golden memories for tomorrow. The things that my kids, now my children are grown now. I've got a 22-year-old and a 17-year-old. And the things that they remember with these exercises that we did, I mean, it's not the theme park vacation that, it might have been appreciated, but that's not what is making up who is now my adult child. They come back to me and say, remember when we sat on the pile of gravel in the driveway when Dad was repaving it, and we were staring up at the sky. Like just these fun little things that they remember. That's who my kids are today. They're very creative. Yes, they're both geniuses. Of course, that's a biased opinion from me, but they're also very creative individuals who are completely authentic with who they were supposed to be in this world. And that is just as proud as I could be.
If anybody would have told me when I was going to school that one day there'd be metal detectors and policemen in the halls, I would have thought they were nuts. They were on crack, or they were smoking grass in the back room. But it's very hard, especially now when kids get home from school. In the majority of cases, mom and dad are still at work.
Right.
So tell me, what is your number one tip to balance the professional and the family life?
Well, Rob, I think the biggest piece of advice I can give parents there is to be where your feet are planted. When you are at work, of course, your kids have to have access to you. But when you're there, you're putting your time 100% to your work.
Mm-hmm.
When you're home, do the same. Make it a no BlackBerry zone, okay? I know we all have to be on call. We all have to have our times when we're available for, the employees that need to contact us, the clients that need to contact us, whatever. But really and truly 24/7, I love to think I'm important, but am I really that indispensable that people can't do without me while I'm giving my child a half an hour of me?
Yeah.
You have to be where your feet are planted. That's my best piece of advice for balancing professional and family life.
I'm going to get email left, right, and center for what I'm going to say again. There is no place in the home for handheld devices. When you come home, shut them off, put them on the table near the door, pick them up when you're leaving. To see families at the supper table, mom and dad and the kids with their BlackBerries or their iPods or whatever whatever it is, texting, communicating with other people. They should be there at the table communicating with each other, maintaining a family unit.
Exactly. And, I agree with you, and I'm a big brat. I have to tell you that. I have to fess up right up front. I'm a big brat. So when my kids used to do something like that, I would have to just out-brat them and just stare down at my plate so that all they saw was the top of my head. I'm like, well, how do you like the view? That's what I see of you. Put it away, They got to understand. So family time is family time for us.
Good for you.
Yeah, dinner time is the most important time of the day. And we can pick up our BlackBerries or whatever when we want to, but there are certain times. And, it doesn't even have to be reinforced anymore. It's just as important to my kids now as it is to me.
Whatever happened to using the telephone?
You mean the one that plugs into the wall and has a cord that limits you on where you walk?
I find it so it just boils me the wrong way to see people texting instead of picking up the phone and communicating, because as sure as God is my judge in heaven, one day in the very near future, all this technology is going to bite us in the butt.
It is.
It's going to bite us in the butt, and people are not going to realize that they have created the monster that they now have to fix.
It's funny that you said that, and I have a girlfriend who is going through a divorce right now, but she said her husband texts her 24/7, and she said if these were available when we were still married, we'd still be married because he's communicating with me. And I said, do you realize how sad that was? I just want you to pause for a moment and understand how sad that was. We don't communicate unless our thumbs are moving.
It's crazy.
It is. It is. So you have to be where your feet are planted, to come back to that original question, and really and truly give yourself when you're there.
You and I have to plant our feet in the news break right now, Debbie. Please stand by. Great talking to you. Thank you very much for taking time out of your day to join us here in the X-Zone. X-Zone Nation, my special guest this hour is Debbie Mancini-Wilson. She is the author of Color My World. Her website, www.colormyworld.info, and that's COLOR, myworld.com. That's COLOR, myworld.info. Gosh, it's one of those days. I'll be back on the other side of this commercial break with the news as the X-Zone continues. We're right here from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, on the Talkstar Radio Network. My name is Rob McConnell. Don't go away.
When will I be loved? I've been pushed down. I've been pushed round. When will I be loved? When I find a new man that I want for mine.
Hi, this is Eric Rawls of Cosmoverse.com, and you're listening to Rob McConnell in the X-Zone.
Hi, this is Blade Runner, and you are listening to Canada's #1 paranormal radio show, The X-Zone, with Rob McConnell.
Hi, I'm Laura Sabrin of Feast of Fields Organic Vineyard in Jordan, and you're listening to Canada's #1 paranormal radio show, The X Zone, with Rob McConnell.
Hi, my name is Lady Ashley, the White Witch of Niagara-on-the-Lake, and you're listening to Canada's #1 paranormal talk radio show, The X Zone, with Rob McConnell.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
I don't know about you, Exonation, but I certainly believe in love. And speaking about love, today is my parents' 60th wedding anniversary. So to Mom and Dad in Montreal, Quebec, happy anniversary. I love you both with all my heart. And as fate would have it, tomorrow's my mother's birthday, so wow, she got us on a double whammy. 1-800-610-7035, email xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On MSN Messenger, xzoneradiotv at hotmail.com, and our website, www.xzoneradiotv.com. On Facebook, facebook.com/xzoneradiotv.com, and on Twitter, twitter.com/xzoneradiotv. Debbie Mancini-Wilson is our special guest this hour, Exonation. She is the author of Color My World. Her website is www.colormyworld.info. And Debbie, thanks very much for joining us. What was the hardest part for you as an author writing your book?
I think the hardest part for me was finding the time to finally cultivate all the information and pull it together. Raising 2 children, running two businesses, and running my household the way I do, because I cook 3 meals a day every day of the week, even though I work more than full time. So
God bless you.
I just started waking up an hour earlier, and I got to tell you, I'm not a morning person. So that was really, really difficult for me to do. But when you have a mission and you're very passionate about it, and you know that the world needs to have your information, then you find a way to do it.
See, I've got 3 special words that work for me to wake me up in the morning.
What are they?
Tim Hortons coffee. That does it for me. I'm not sure if it's the coffee or the drive to get the coffee that wakes me up, but it works.
Does it?
So tell me, how do you make the most of the time that you spend with your children?
Well, what I do is I do very pointed. Well, of course, like I said, my kids are adults now, but I would do very pointed exercises that they didn't really realize had an ulterior motive behind them, other than that, hey, we're just having fun.
Yeah.
But my ways of working with them were, well, first of all, I have to tell you that children spell love Time, period. That's it. That's all they really want from you. The rest of it kind of falls into place and just happens. And the time that I spent with my kids, the majority of it, I mean, I'm an avid cook, so the majority of it was in the kitchen and around food, around the dinner table. And those were very sacred times for us, and we had each other's captive attention. And I learned so much about my kids, and by the way, my kids learned so much about me. Those are gifts that you don't get to give back. Things that your kids find out about you that they might not normally have. We would just broach conversations like, my favorite age was, And then I'd tell why it was my favorite age. And then I'd let my kids do the same. And it doesn't matter how old your kids are. Even if they're 5 years old, they still have a favorite age they're just dying to tell you about and why. And so oftentimes what I would do, Rob, is I would have little journals. And we would write in them. I'd say, okay, I'm going to write 3 pages about what my favorite holiday was, and I want you to go do the same thing. And then the next day we come back and swap journals and read. There's no better gift for me as a mom to have that from my child, or vice versa. They're getting to know a part of me that they would probably not have known before.
You know, I was just thinking as you were talking, if our forefathers would have been texting, there would have been no history written.
That's right.
Yeah. Because
Absolutely.
history is based on stories and stories being passed down from one person to the other.
That's right. So, you know, these little journals that my sons didn't have to know were journals because the name in and of itself makes kids roll their eyes and suck their teeth. No, I'm not doing that. But if you just say, here, write in this notebook, I don't care what you call it. You know, get 3 sheets of paper by themselves and just get them to write and start putting them in a binder, because later on, when your kids are older and you just want to relive the moment yourself or take them back to that moment and show them a snippet of themselves at 7 years old. How fun that is.
We still have all the children's report cards, all the drawings that they brought home, all the little ribbons that they won at track and field. And you know what? I'm going to tell you something that I'm sure a lot of men around the world listening to us will agree with silently, is I miss the drawings on the fridge.
Oh.
You know,
That's
because
precious to hear.
It was their way of showing how much they loved you, because a lot of heart and soul went into whatever they brought home.
You bet.
Yeah.
You bet. And it was a perfect way for you to show them how important they are to put it up, because a lot of parents just shove them in a drawer.
No, you don't do that, because that defeats the whole purpose. They're saying, hey, Dad, look at Mom, what I did, Mom. Look what I did, right. Dad. And when they see it up there, it's just like when you walked in the classroom and on one of the, this is how it worked where I went to school. On one of the blackboards, your notebook would be up there, and you looked for your notebook to see if it had a star on it.
That's
it's
right.
the same thing, and that feeling of accomplishment that you got is the same feeling of accomplishment I wanted the children to feel when they came home.
That's it. It's like their Academy Award.
Yeah, exactly.
They walk in and they see that. It's like, oh, my God, you do appreciate me. I don't mean to be Sally Field, but you do love me. You know, that's it. That's that moment of acceptance, because when it all boils down to it, aren't we all just looking for acceptance?
Exactly. And you brought up a very important point. Why don't we show emotion? Why don't we show the emotion to our children in public? I do, and we get some strange looks. But you know what? When I want to hug my daughter or hug my son, damn it, I'm going to do it.
You betcha. And you know what? I don't hold back. I mean, I'm 100% Italian, so emotions just flow.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's who I am. And, you know, we're talking about authenticity, is that most people, and that is really important. I'm glad you brought that up, because most people lose their authenticity because they're so busy conforming. Well, I really shouldn't hug my son in public, or I really shouldn't do this. And you know what? If it's who you are, and there's nothing wrong with it,
I don't think
then
there is.
By God, why not? Why not?
Exactly.
It's who I am, and I wear that on my sleeve, and so do my children.
Especially when kids on Glee do a lot more than that.
Yeah, you betcha. You betcha. But when you are living authentically, and you're teaching your children to live authentically, you're teaching them to grow up happy. That they're living their true mission in life. And most of us are so busy conforming, and we all have to conform in some way, shape, or form. Where there's regulations, we all have to. That's okay. But to completely stifle the gifts that we're born with. And, you know, I do a lot of parent coaching. And, you know, a lot of parents that you know, oh, my kids just feel this right of entitlement. And I usually stop them there because, okay, that's a whole conversation that we can have another time. But that right of entitlement right there, those words, my words back are, they do have a right of entitlement. However, it's not the one they're probably thinking of. They were born with true gifts and talents. And those are gifts, the word gifts being forgotten there. Their right of entitlement is to use those gifts and talents to do something wonderful in the world. That's their right of entitlement. That's their payback. That's what they're giving back. You know, you can call it God, you can call it whatever spiritual being you want, but that is the gift you were given when you were born, and you're supposed to use it. So that's my whole gist, is to keep people tuned into those gifts and talents, those creativity, their own natural creativity, and live authentically. And if you are living authentically somehow, way, shape, or form, you're going to make a huge difference.
When our children were growing up, elves made sure that when they were at home before they went to any of the kindergarten or so on, that there were always crayons, paper, coloring books, building blocks around for them so that they could start to express themselves. Plasticine, Play-Doh, whatever. And yet today, it's an Xbox. It's a Wi-Fi.
Right.
Are we losing our children to technology?
You know what, we are in some ways, but I also believe, it is progress, so I've got to take off my preacher hat and say, okay, I've got to understand that this is progress. How can I incorporate that progress and still not lose the genuine connection to the person beside you? And that's what I think I've stressed to my kids. You can have that gadget in your hand, but when you are with a person, another human being or a puppy or a cat, you look them in the eye and you connect. You have to connect. And I think as long as they don't lose that, then they can have all the Xboxes, they can have all of the Blackberries they want. But the people connection is the biggest thing that we have to work on. And really for kids, I think the more you beat that into their heads and jam it down their throats, the more they spit it out. You have to be creative as a parent and learn how to sneak those lessons in there. And, for me, I always joke that my kids were always so much smarter than me. When I got a chance to pull one over on them, that was my happy mommy dance. I fooled them, But you just have to find a way to do it, And again, it's usually not preaching to them because they spit it right back out at you. And
as Mary Poppins said, a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down.
You bet. So my goal with Color My World and all of my website, my blog, I have colormyworldwithdebbie.blogspot.com, and that I give all kinds of creative parenting tips and tools that you, as a parent, are doing something productive with your child, teaching them a lesson. And by the way, you're having fun too, which is really cool. Get dinner games, car time, chore time, bedtime, how to turn those moments into a productive aha moment, if you will, as a parent. Like, you learned something about your kid.
Let me ask you this question, and I don't mean to be cynical, but why is it in today's society parents need to go to a website to find out how to be parents?
I don't know that, but I'm happy to be one of the ones that offers it.
And I'm happier there, too. I'm happier there because a lot of parents need it.
I think that most parents, just truly putting it in a nutshell, Rob, is they make it more difficult than it really is. Parenting is not a job. It is a very important responsibility, but it is not a job. It is the most fun you were born to have, baby. Why don't you just let it happen? And my biggest thing when parents say to me, well, what do? I go, okay, number one, lighten the heck up. You're really making this more difficult than it is.
And something else I've noticed, a lot of parents are trying to be best friends with their children instead of being parents, and that's a big no-no.
Yeah. Now that my kids are adults, we're friends because they respect the lessons that I taught.
That's right. Tell me, after attending workshops with their kids, I understand lots of parents approach you and ask for corporate training in their business. Why do you think that happens?
Well, I think that they do that loosening up a little bit when they're in a workshop with me, and they learn a little bit about themselves and they tap into their own creativity. I've had parents and grandparents, by the way, who have come to my workshops with their kids and grandkids come up to me afterwards and say, I came here hoping to get my kid to whatever, and I did. Great. Wow, thanks. However, I learned so much about me, and I do still have that inner child, and it's okay to tap into it because I'm bringing more of me. You bring more of you to your job when you learn how to tap into that inner child and your creativity. You learn how to apply those gifts that you were born with and you've lost along the way because you were busy conforming. A CPA doesn't act like that, or a doctor doesn't talk like that, or whatever. And that's fine when you're in that element. However, you need to be creative, even if you're just talking to an employee or your boss or a coworker or a client. You need to be able to creatively solve a problem, think new things, business product development, new services, or just how to bring those to more people to expand your business. So people after a workshop in one of my children, like Mommy and Me workshop or a Daddy and Me workshop, really do understand how an adult workshop will help them in their business lives. And by the way, that also ends up helping them at home because, I mean, when you're living, again, I keep going back to it, when you're living authentically and true to your purpose, every door opens up, your antenna's up, you're just more in tune to what you're really supposed to be doing and how you're supposed to be doing it.
Debbie, stand by. You and I have to take our final break for this hour. X-Zone Nation, Debbie Mancini-Wilson is our special guest this hour. She is the author of Color My World, and it hit the bestseller list within 18 months. Her website is colormyworld.info. That's colormyworld.info. And Debbie and I will be back on the other side of this commercial break as we continue from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Once again, the X-Chronicles newspaper, 38 editions that we selected from our archives, including the latest editions for the last 2 years, I believe, are now available to you with the compliments of our advertisers at www.xchronicles-newspaper.com. We'll be back on the other side of this break. Don't go away. And welcome back. Speaking about breaking up is hard to do, Neil Sedaka was in the audience yesterday on American Idol. Boy, he's holding up pretty good for a guy of his age. Yeah, breaking up is hard to do, sung by the Partridge Family there. Our special guest this hour, X-Zone Nation, is Debbie Mancini-Wilson. Her website is www.colormyworld.info. She's the author of Color My World. First of all, Debbie, thanks very much for joining us tonight. It's been a great pleasure talking to you. But before you go, can you tell me about your upcoming Motivation Marathon?
Absolutely. Excuse me, Rob. The Motivation Marathon, this is actually the first annual Motivation Marathon. We're doing it on the 11th of June, which is a Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
And you can go to motivationmarathon.com and sign up. It is a free teleseminar. And our goal, there are 8 panelists, and each one of us has about an hour. And my topic is creative parenting and how to balance the home life with your career. And I give real tips and tools on how to get inside your kid's head. I'm talking about free, you don't have to spend a dime. You don't have to find the time. It's there right in front of you. So that's my segment. But I'm joined by 7 other panelists who are each at the top of their game. I mean, we've got an all-star lineup. Each one of them is just power-packed tips and tools that you can use right away to make your life everything it was meant to be. It is going to be recorded, so if you do sign up, don't fret if you can't actually be there or can't be there all day. You'll be able to get the recordings free. You also get a free ebook for signing up, and each one of the panelists is offering a free gift. So I say free seminar, but basically what we're doing is paying you to come be a part of it. And we're very, very proud because the group of us that have gotten together to do this, we've just been part of so many other teleseminars where we felt like it was a bait and switch.
Mm-hmm.
You know, oh, we're going to promise you all of this, and then you walk away with not even a nugget, but a crumb, and then that crumb is led by a trail of other crumbs that lead to a great big buy this button, and that's not what we're about. We really are just 8 professional panelists looking to help you in any way.
Once again, Deb, thanks very much for joining us. Tell our listeners where they can find out more about you and where they can get a copy of your book, Color My World.
Absolutely. It, first of all, has been a pleasure, Rob, so thank you. My book is available just everywhere, Borders, Barnes & Noble, Amazon.com, lots and lots of local independent bookstores. My website, colormyworld.info. I am, if you want to follow my blog where I give regular tips and tools, I'm at colormyworldwithdebbie.blogspot.com. And I have a free newsletter that comes out monthly. If you're on my website, you can sign up for that. But this has been a true pleasure.
Pleasure has been all mine. Debbie, thank you very much. Take care of yourself. Continued success, and I look forward to the next time you and I meet here in the X Zone.
Thank you. My pleasure, and I'm looking forward to next time as well.
So long, Debbie.
Bye-bye.
Exonation, Debbie Mancini-Wilson has been my guest this hour. She's the author of Color My World. Her website, www.colormyworld.info. I'll be back on the other side of the news at 6.5 minutes past as the X Zone continues from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. My name is Rob McConnell. This is the X Zone. Don't go away.